राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
गोपी जना वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी
गोपीचन वल्लभ गिरवरधारी
गोपी जना वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी
गोपीचन वल्लभ गिरवरधारी
यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन
यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन
यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन
जमुना तीरा वनचारी
यमुना तीरा वनचारी
यमुना तीरा वनचारी
यमुना तीरा वनचारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
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 जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी
जय गोपीचन वल्लभ गिरवरधारी
जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी
जय गोपीचन वल्लभ गिरवरधारी
यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन
यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन
जमुना तीरा वनचारी
यमुना तीरा वनचारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी
गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरवरधारी
यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन
यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन
यमुना तीरा वनचारी
यमुना तीरा वनचारी
यमुनातीरावनचारी
यमुनातीरावनचारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी
जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी
यशोदानन्दन व्रज जन रञ्जन
यशोदानन्दन व्रज जन रञ्जन
यशोदानन्दन व्रज जन रञ्जन
व्रज जन रञ्जन
यमुनातीरा वनचारी
यमुनातीरावनचारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा गदामह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं त्वं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णापृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिधि नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासवी गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
Six chapter.
16.
4 6.19 is over.
हाँ 6.19 is over. 6.19 is over. यथा दीपो.
So 19 is over.
Yes, yes.
So from 20 onwards. यत्रो परमते चित्तं निरुद्धं योगसेवया यत्र चैवात्मनात्मानं पश्यन्नात्मनि तुष्यति सुखम् आत्यन्तिकं यत्तत् बुद्धिग्राह्यम् अतीन्द्रियं वेत्ति यत्र न चैवायं स्थितः चलति तत्त्वतः यं लब्ध्वा चापरं लाभं मन्यते नादिकं ततः यस्मिन् स्थितो न दुःखेन गुरुणापि विचाल्यते तं विद्यात् दुःख संयोगं वियोगं योग संहितं. So the translation is in the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. So, Krishna is telling about the perfection of samadhi in these verses, isn't it? How samadhi is about complete absorption in Krishna, in God. So, I like to know the audience first actually. How many of you chant 16 rounds? Please raise your hands. Okay, lower your hands. How many of you chant 12 to 16? 8 to 12? Okay. How many of you chant 4 to 8? Okay. 0 to 4? Alright, good. So, because as what to speak. How many of you don't chant at all here? Don't chant Hare Krishna at all. Everybody chants something. That's very nice. So, Krishna will speak towards the end of the 6th chapter that Yogina api sarvesham madgatinantaratmanan Shraddhavan bhajate mam samayuktatvam. The highest yogi is a bhakti yogi, isn't it? Because a bhakti yogi is always in a state of samadhi, at least supposed to be in the state of samadhi. Because actually bhakti yoga means whatever activities we perform, we are performing it with the full absorption and consciousness that we are doing it all for the service of Sri Krishna. That's what Bhakti Yoga is all about. But right now, we are doing sadhana bhakti. We are practicing remembering Sri Krishna. And Krishna is explaining in this particular verse here, in that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of the greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. So, once a person is completely absorbed in Sri Krishna, such a person is doing every activity as a service to God. No activity is performed for one's own senses, one's own sense gratification. So the living entity's entanglement within the material existence is because of the desire to be the enjoyer. The desire to be the enjoyer. There is a root cause of entanglement of the living entity within material existence. So, the goal should be freedom from the desire to enjoy. So, does that mean that our desire should be to suffer in this world? Is that our goal, to suffer? Then what do we understand when we say that we should become freed from the desire to be the enjoyer? See, English word, it's a bit imperfect. And so even Prabhupada, when he went to the Western world, he had to introduce some new terms to convey certain Vedic concepts. For example, we have the concept of Archa Vigraha, deities. Isn't it? How many of you have deities at home? Raise your hands. They all have deities at home. From before there. From before you have deities. Okay. In India, all of us understand the concept of deities. Isn't it? Archa Vigraha is God Himself who has appeared. So, in English, what is the English equivalent of Archa Vigraha?
Statue.
It's idol, they'll say. Isn't it? But the word idol actually means, it has got a different connotation. The word idol has got a different connotation. Idol means a form which is imaginary. So idolatry, worshipping the form of God, is condemned in Abrahamic religions like Christianity, Islam, etc. Because they condemn idolatry, they condemn idol worship, because their understanding is, how can a human being who is limited imagine the form of God who is unlimited? And it's perfectly valid, their understanding is valid. That with our limited senses, how we can understand the unlimited? Not possible. So in Christianity and Islam, they have this system of destroying idols. And it is considered to be a virtue to destroy idols. But then when they came to India, they felt that Indians are also engaged in idol worship. They didn't understand that the Archa Vigraha is not an idol. It's not that human beings are trying to imagine the form of God. God has revealed His form through the scriptures. And when the Supreme Lord reveals His form through the scriptures, and then we carve out a form of God as per the scriptural injunctions, then that is not idol. It's Archa Vigraha. So Prabhupada was at a loss of words when he wanted to translate into English. So that is why he kind of coined this word deity. See, deity doesn't really mean Archa Vigraha actually. It was the closest English word that he could think of. So, deity, see, so he gave the word deity. Right? So similarly, in the English language, there is this word enjoy. But in Sanskrit, there is this word bhukta, bhoga. Yai sansparshaja bhoga dukkha yone evate adyantavanta kaunteya nate shuramate buddha. Krishna says in the 5th chapter of the Gita, right? That Yahi sansparshaja bhoga. When you are trying to be the bhukta, when you are trying to be the enjoyer of sense gratification, dukkha yonaveta. The very moment you are experiencing the joy of the senses. Yahi sansparshaja. Ja is born. Sansparshaja. The very moment you experience joy from the contact of the senses with objects of the senses. Right? The very moment you experience happiness through contact of the senses with the objects of the senses, yes, sansparshaja bhoga dukkha yonevate. That very moment, misery is taking birth. The conception of misery is taking place. The conception of misery is taking place. That very moment. Yoni, the word is used, yoni, dukkha yoni. Yoni, yoni and bija, these are Sanskrit words. Yoni is womb. So misery enters the womb. The very moment you are experiencing happiness from the contact of the senses with the objects of the senses. So at that moment, all you're experiencing is happiness. You don't really experience, you don't understand that misery is conceived, and in due course of time, misery is going to be born out of this experience. You don't realize it at that particular point of time. It's like when a woman becomes pregnant, initially you don't understand. Maybe after 4 months, 5 months, I'm not really an expert on that. But after a few months, then that it becomes visible that she's all actually bearing a child. So similarly, the moment we are experiencing sense gratification, the moment we are experiencing happiness from the contact of the senses with objects of the senses, that very moment we don't realize that misery has taken birth. But misery has taken birth. How do you understand that? Why is that so? Why is it that when the senses enjoy sense gratification, now it could be gross senses, it could be the mind experiencing positive emotions, it could be the ego experiencing the joy of egoistic pleasures, but the very moment we experience that very moment misery is conceived. How do you understand that? Why is it so? Why does it happen?
More and more. Require more and more pleasures and gratifications, senses.
You require more and more. What's your name, sir?
Rajesh.
Okay, Rajesh sir is telling there's a reason. More and more we require. We may not get more and more.
Develop an attachment with that kind of.
And then what?
So eagerness to be in that zone.
Eagerness to be in that zone.
We go beyond the real happiness.
Huh?
As we go near the material happiness, we go beyond the real happiness, which is Krishna.
We move away from real happiness the more we come closer to material happiness. Any other answer, any other explanation for this?
We are more attached to material world and emotions and that's why we.
Good. Okay.
Senses are not controlled at that stage. Senses are uncontrolled when we are material sense enjoyment and away from Krishna.
Okay.
Because it has to end. So but we don't want it to end, Prabhuji. So that's where the misery begins. That if it's ending, that's where we feel that's.
Yeah. All of you are right, but I think he was closest to the answer here. So, yahi sansparshaja bhoga dukkha yoneyote adyantavanta kaunteya. Krishna gives the reason in the very next line. Because material happiness has a beginning and it has an end. Now we are experiencing it. Sometime it is going to end. And when it ends, the very same thing that gave us happiness, that gave us joy, is going to give us misery, sorrow, 100%. Because somebody else had pointed that we become attached to it. Right? We become attached to it. We become attached to that propensity to want to enjoy it. And once it is taken away from us, that very thing becomes a source of misery. See, even according to psychology, if suppose you're experiencing X amount of joy by getting some sense gratification, when that sense gratification is taken away from you, the misery that you experience is 2x according to psychology. Right? According to psychologists, the misery that you experience when something is taken away from you is twice the happiness that you experience when you get it. So if we consider our entire life cumulative, we come empty-handed, we leave from this world also empty-handed. In between, you get certain things, and whatever you have got, you lose it all. As simple as that. You can't take anything with you at the end of the day. No. Whatever you have gained, everything you are going to lose. You have to leave behind. Now, during that particular life, one fellow, loser, he couldn't really make it in life. He gained only, maybe property worth 2 crore. Nowadays, even losers in Bombay have to have at least 2 crores. And somebody who really made it in life made 200 crores. But if you see Hisab Kitab of the entire life, the guy who made 2 crores, he made 2 crores, lost 2 crores. The fellow who made 200 crores, he made 200 crores, he lost 200 crores. Cumulative, net misery, who has earned more misery? Loser or winner? Winner has earned more misery because he has gained 200 crores and he has lost 200 crores. So the misery will be infinitely more than another fellow who has only earned 2 crores because he had to lose only 2 crores. Then it's better to be a loser in the material world than being a winner. You are getting my point here. So the entire world is simple mathematics. This doesn't take much. It's simple common sense logic based on psychology. These people are not able to understand. They feel the goal of life is not 2,000 crores. They are thinking. And people are running in this rat race. So, the Gita makes it very clear, happiness doesn't come through trying to be the bhogi, to be the enjoyer. Happiness comes through service. Correct? So, the consciousness has to transform from me being trying to be the enjoyer of the things of this world to being the servant. The consciousness has to transform because true happiness lies in service. But then what to do? We have got certain senses also. See, bhoga. See, something is called bhoga, right? Bhoga is something that is offered to Krishna. Because we are not bhogis. If we are bhogis, we enjoy the bhoga. But we don't want to be bhogis. We are devotees. So, bhoga we offer it to Krishna. Everything is meant for Krishna's enjoyment. The nice things of this world are meant for Krishna's enjoyment. He is the supreme enjoyer. I am not the enjoyer. If we think I am the enjoyer, we become the sufferers. Because as I said, if you try to enjoy, the more you try to enjoy, the more you suffer cumulatively by the end of your life. So we accept Krishna as the supreme enjoyer and we offer everything for Sri Krishna. And once Sri Krishna enjoys, what is left behind? Prasad. So, should we enjoy prasad or not now? Because we are not supposed to be enjoyers. So, is it okay to enjoy prasad?
Yes.
Yes.
What is the logic behind it? That we can enjoy prasad, not a problem enjoying prasad.
For service of Krishna. You
enjoying prasad also should be limited by our health so that we can serve better.
Good. You are all very mature devotees. So the point here is, mature devotee means justification for everything. So, just joking. So the point here is, the consciousness is service. And because the consciousness is on service, that is why devotees, they don't become attached. Problem is attachment. See, there is this, it's considered to be a seminal experiment in the field of psychology. So they were performing some experiment on mice. Correct? So we don't really favor such experiments because, we don't want to cause any violence to living entities, innocent living entities. But anyway, they have performed this experiment. We can use it for Krishna's service, not a problem. So these mice, in the first part of the experiment, they were administered some sweet sugary syrup. And mice, they become addicted to sugary syrup. They started enjoying the sugary syrup, and then that they became addicted to the sugary syrup was evident from the fact that when the sugary syrup was brought in front of them, what is the sound?
Sorry. Mic band kar. Sorry.
So, they used to kind of pounce on the sugary syrup. Means they were addicted to the sugary syrup when sugary syrup was brought in front of them, which meant that they were addicted to it. And once they drank the sugary syrup, they started licking their lips, which meant that they enjoyed that sugary syrup. Correct? So they used to, when sugary syrup was brought in front of them, they used to pounce on the sugary syrup, which means they were addicted to the sugary syrup. And then they used to drink the sugary syrup and lick their lips, which meant what? Which meant they liked the sugary syrup. They enjoyed it. This is part 1 of the experiment. In part 2 of the experiment, through a minor surgery, dopamine secreting glands were removed. Okay. Which is a center of pleasure in the brain. And in part 2 of the experiment, what was done was, a sugary syrup was brought in front of them. And when the sugary syrup was brought in front of them, they stopped jumping. They stopped jumping on the sugary syrup. But nonetheless, when sugary syrup was administered to them, they licked their lips. Means they continued to like the sugary syrup even though they stopped getting addicted to it. They lost attachment to it, but they continued liking it. So, liking a thing is different from wanting a thing. There's a difference between it. Wanting indicates a sense of addiction. You are desperate for it. You are attached to it. Liking means there is no desperation, there is no attachment, there is no addiction. But when it comes to you anyways, then there's nothing wrong with enjoying it. There's nothing wrong with liking it. So devotees should be like, these mice whose dopamine secretion is removed. So when nice prasad, when our Anuj Prabhu, you bring what prasad? What prasad have you brought today?
Special prasad, secret.
Some South Indian.
South India.
Maybe some South Indian prasad he has brought. Some idli dosa, something he has brought. Those are not possible. Some idli vagara. When nice prasad is there, devotees enjoy the prasad, not a problem. But sometimes when Anuj Prabhu, he brings khichdi, if you stare at him with angry eyes, then that's wrong. तो कभी इडली आया वो भी खा लेने का, खिचड़ी आया वो भी खा लेने का.
Anger on Dinana Prabhu.
The one who makes it.
So the point here is, prasad, we serve prasad, and there is nothing wrong with really, experiencing the joy of taking prasad. There's nothing wrong with liking the prasad, but wanting it, becoming addicted. You see, very nice pastime of Prabhupada is there. That Prabhupada, once upon a time, he was invited to, I think, Stanford University for giving a lecture in some hall there. So he gave a lecture there. And it is a Western university, and being a Western university, I think it was in an auditorium or something. So devotees couldn't really serve full-fledged prasads. Because यहाँ पर भी बैंड रहेगा ना प्रसाद खाना ऑडिटोरियम के अंदर बैंड है. हाँ भाई, वो भी ऐसे ही था वहाँ पे. तो अंदर बैंड था. So devotees were thinking, everybody has to be given prasad because they have attended program. So popcorn was brought and everybody was given popcorn prasad. एक पैकेट सबको popcorn दे दिया. And Prabhupada saw, what is this? Something new. He hadn't seen popcorn before. He's from India, Vrindavan. So he saw popcorn. He said, okay, I'll also have some. Let's see what it is. And then he ate the popcorn. And then he said, it's very nice. It's very nice, he said. And devotees became very happy. Prabhupada liked popcorn. So then what happened was, next time when Prabhupada was invited for lecture at Stanford University, again devotees, they arranged for popcorn this time because Prabhupada liked it. And they brought it and they gave big packet of popcorn to Prabhupada. Then maybe Prabhupada will like to eat more and more popcorn this time. But Prabhupada said, no, it's okay because the last time I ate it, he didn't say anything at that time. He just said, I don't want it. But then afterwards, when they were returning to the temple, on the way he told, his servant, Shrutakirti Prabhu, that the last time I ate popcorn, it created some trouble in my stomach, because of which I couldn't translate my books. Because Prabhupada used to wake up at 10 o'clock. He used to sleep at 10 o'clock, wake up at 12 o'clock. And from 12 o'clock at midnight till morning, he used to translate books. So he said that I had trouble keeping myself awake, I had trouble concentrating. So I don't want popcorn. See, the priority is service. You're getting my point? It's not that when Prabhupada was given popcorn, Prabhupada didn't like the popcorn. He liked it. He said, I liked it. He said, I like it. But at the same time, Prabhupada didn't become attached to that popcorn. And the proof was when the popcorn created some trouble, then he didn't eat the popcorn the next time. So, this is the whole point here, that when we develop the consciousness of being a bhogi, wanting to be the enjoyer, that's the problem here. But enjoyment is not a problem. That's why I told you that English is an imperfect word. The enjoyment is an imperfect word. In the English language, the word enjoyment both refers to enjoying bhoga, enjoying prasad. It's the same word. But so it's a misnomer. So the point here is, as long as we have the desire of being the enjoyer, active enjoyer. See, one way of understanding it is active enjoyer, passive enjoyer. Active enjoyer means you want to enjoy bhoga. Passive enjoyer means once it's offered to Shri Krishna, then you enjoy the prasad. That is passive enjoyer. You are secondary enjoyer, not the primary enjoyer. So, living entity in this world experiences misery and suffering because of this desire to be the enjoyer. And once you are freed from this desire, this propensity to be the enjoyer, the propensity of being a bhogi, material nature can't touch you. See, when we were students, we were told a story. I don't know how valid that story is. Well, it's a nice story. So there was this one fellow who was learning judo. and he had only one arm. He didn't have a left arm, he had only had right arm. With only one arm, he was learning judo, practicing. And with one arm, what is the chance that he'll be able to win a tournament? But still, when the judo tournament came, to everyone's surprise, the first round, he got through the first round. Then he got through the second round, third round, fourth round, quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals. Won the tournament, championship also, with only one hand, with only one arm, the right arm. Without a left arm, he won the tournament also, judo tournament. So then people asked him, how you managed to do this? So he said that I had practiced only one move of judo, and that particular move of judo was a very powerful attacking move, and it could kind of floor how strong the opponent could be. This one move was so powerful that it could floor the opponent, and the only known defense to this powerful attacking move is to grab the left arm of the attacker. And because I didn't have a left arm, वो बेचारा क्या करेगा? सिर्फ मार खा के गिर गया, वो सेल्फ डिफेंस में कुछ कर ही नहीं सकता. And that's how I won the tournament. So, if we simply give up the propensity to be the enjoyer, it's like giving up that left arm. And once we give up the propensity to be the enjoyer, even though you're situated within material existence, माया आपका कुछ बिगाड़ नहीं सकती, क्योंकि आपको कहाँ से पकड़ेगी? वो पकड़ने के लिए आपके पास कुछ है ही नहीं. That propensity to be the enjoyer, you're just let go of it. There is no way that Maya can bind you. But nonetheless, the material body, the mind, it all has to go through the laws of nature. Miserable, suffering situations we might confront in life, but we remain unaffected. That's what Krishna is telling here in this particular verse. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken even in the midst of the greatest difficulty, because you don't have that propensity to enjoy. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. Correct? So, Krishna is actually describing in this particular verse the stage of Shuddha Sattva, above the three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. See, Krishna explains the three gunas in detail in the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita actually, right? And this is a very profound science, the science of the three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. People in the modern world, a lot of people feel that, if you actually explain to them the three gunas, they feel that अगर सात्विक बन गए तो आदमी तो successful कैसे बनेगा life में? There is the understanding that people have, but actually in the modern day world, Rajogun and Tamogun is all pervading. There is a norm, correct? And if a person only has Rajogun and Tamogun, it's a very difficult combination. See, to be successful from a material perspective in this world, or Anusha, what do you want to become in life? Huh? To become an engineer, you require some Rajogun, isn't it? You have to work hard, burn the midnight lamp and all these things. So, what is the use of Sattva-guna? So, Anusha chants Hare Krishna?
Yes.
How many rounds you chant? Huh?
8.
बाप रे, तो यहाँ पर सब मारते लोग तो बच्ची 8 माला कर रही है. Which class are you in?
9.
You are also in 9. Oh, she is chanting 16. Okay.
10 to 12.
10 to 12. But remarkable. Small kids are all chanting Hare Krishna. What about you? Fire, baap re. Which class are you in? Oh, it's a very advanced society. See, as such, there is Rajoguna and Tamoguna in this world. Correct? You don't have to create Rajoguna or Tamoguna. It is there naturally. Default setting of the modern world is Rajogun and Tamogun. And for material success, you require Rajogun 100%. But if a person doesn't have Sattvagun, then what will happen? See, Rajogun, Krishna explains, the Rajogun makes you active, it makes you ambitious. But if you have got only Rajogun, what happens is, see, life is such that it's not that everything that you aspire for, you'll get it. Life is full of ups and downs. But once, suppose, some endeavor of yours for success is met with failure. In the absence of Sattvagun, what happens is, when you meet with failure, rather than, if a person has Sattva-guna, Sattva-guna indicates inner contentment. When there is external failure, if a person has Sattva-guna, such a person can turn towards inner contentment. But in the absence of some kind of inner contentment, some kind of inner satisfaction, in the phase of failure, what does person do? Turns to Tamoguna. Starts drinking, starts smoking, start taking drugs perhaps. So Sattva-guna gives you resilience in life. Sattva-guna gives you the capacity to handle failures. Because failures comes to everybody. See, Virat Kohli, I've heard that at one point of time, no bowler dared to ball a ball to him. Because he could dispatch any ball across the boundary. But even though he was such a remarkable player, even he had his downtime. So the world is such that we all have our ups and downs. So in the long run, how success we are, even materially, depends upon how we are able to handle the patches of failures in between. If we are able to sail through those patches of failures easily, then overall we will become successful in life. See, in this world nothing lasts forever. Success doesn't last forever, even failures don't last forever. So when failures comes, it's only a matter of time before that phase is finished and again success will meet you. But to be able to remain patient during that brief phase of failure, that requires Sattva-guna. In the absence of Sattva-guna, what will happen is people take to unhealthy habits, and even though later on external situations and circumstances might become favorable once again, they are no longer in a position to take advantage of the changed situation. Because during that brief phase of failure, they have allowed Tamoguna to consume them. You understand? So that is why, especially the younger generation, it is very important to inculcate Sattva-guna in them. Because the younger generation nowadays, they only have Rajogun. Modern education system is only teaching them how to become ambitious, how to be a go-getter. Modern educational system is giving them more and more Rajoguna, but no Sattva-guna education is given to them. And so, the newer generation, they are finding it very difficult to handle reversals and failures in life because of a lack of Sattva-guna. See, to come to Sattva-guna, see here, what is being explained is a position that is beyond Sattva-guna also. Tamas, Rajas, Sattva, Shuddha Sattva is being explained here. So it is recommended that we gradually build up our consciousness to Sattva-guna and then reach the stage of Shuddha Sattva. How do we come to the level of Sattva-guna? By giving charity. What else? How can we come to Sattva Guna?
This is a chanting process.
Chanting, we can come to Sattva Guna. Okay, what else?
To serve the God.
Through service to God. Anything else? Huh? Austerity. See, there are so many ways of coming to Sattva Guna. Through sattvic diet, by being awake during Sattva Guna hours. Early morning hours are Sattva Guni hours. So we remain more awake during the early morning hours and do spiritual practices. We come to Sattva Guna more easily. See, basically coming from Tamogun, Rajogun to Sattva Guna is a question of changing your habit. And habits can be very sticky. Habits can be very sticky. A person who is used to waking up at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. How many of you wake up after 10 o'clock on holidays? No, of course, it's a wrong question to ask.
8 or 9.
8 or 9 o'clock you wake up. Anyway, so some people routinely wake up very late in the morning. For them to suddenly start waking up early in the morning is very difficult. So there are two ways of coming to Sattva Guna. Bottom to top and top to bottom. Bottom to top method is what? You change your tamasic and rajasic habits to become more sattvic. Maybe you are addicted to rajasic or tamasic foods. Changing your food habits to a more sattvic diet is one way of coming to Sattva Guna gradually. Changing your waking up habits. That is one way of coming to Sattva Guna. And then there is Sattva Guni music, Rajasic music, Tamasic music. Tamasic music is, hard rock. Rajasic music is like Bollywood music. Sattvic music is like, classical music. So everything around us can be categorized as Sattvic, Rasic and Tamasic. How do we categorize things around us as Sattvic, Rasic, Tamasic? Anything that increases the Sattva Guna in you is Sattvic. Anything that increases the Rajo Guna in you is Rasic. Anything that increases the Tamo Guna in you is Tamasic. Food that increases Sattva Guna in you is Sattvic. Food that increases Rajo Guna in you is Rasic. That's how it works. Even music, depending upon what influence it has on you, it can be categorized as Sattvic, Rasic and Tamasic. So slowly but surely, if we change the things, circumstances and situations that we interact with in day-to-day life, that's how we will increase the Sattva Guna in us. Simple thing. But it is not so simple because we are prisoners of our own habits. Once we are kind of addicted to Rajasic or Tamasic things, to suddenly change to Sattvic is very difficult. So generally, the process of coming to Sattva Guna, bottom to top, is a difficult process. More easy process of coming to Sattva Guna is top bottom. Top bottom. What is top bottom approach of coming to Sattva Guna? You pull yourselves up to the level of Shuddha Sattva. Shuddha Sattva is pure Sattva Guna, even beyond Sattva Guna. So there is Tamogun, Rajogun, Sattva Guna, and beyond that is Shuddha Sattva. One way of coming to Sattva Guna is coming from bottom. Step by step you come to Sattva Guna. Another way of coming to Sattva Guna is jump on top and then come down. Jumping on top and coming down is much easier. That is why Bhakti Yoga is the most powerful yoga. In all other yoga systems, generally the method of coming to Sattva Guna is the bottom top approach. But Bhakti Yoga, during the time when you are completely absorbed in Bhakti, it's very simple. When the mind is absorbed in Shri Krishna, the mind could be absorbed in, absorption is very important. अभी हरे कृष्णा जप कर रहे और कुछ सोच रहे, उससे इतना इफेक्ट नहीं रहेगा. When the mind is completely absorbed in Krishna, this is something that we can all experience. Experiential learning. When the mind is completely absorbed in Krishna, maybe absorbed in Krishna's names, absorbed in Krishna's form, absorbed in Krishna's teachings, absorbed in the Srimad Bhagavatam. When you're completely absorbed in Krishna, your consciousness actually gets pulled to the level of Shuddha Sattva. So suppose early in the morning, you are immersed in chanting Hare Krishna. Or suppose you are immersed in studying the Bhagavatam. Totally absorbed. Actually your consciousness touches the platform of Shuddha Sattva, the transcendental platform. At least momentarily. जब आप 16 माला जप किए, वो थोड़ा ऐसा क्या बोलते हैं उसको, वार्म अप होने के लिए 5-6 माला लगता है कि नहीं? तो थोड़ा थोड़ा लगने लगता है कि चैंटिंग स्टार्ट हो गया है अभी. एंड देन यू आर इन फॉर्म, मे बी चैंटिंग 2-3 राउंड्स, एंड देन अगेन यू स्टार्ट लुकिंग एट द वॉच, अभी और कितना टाइम जाएगा, कभी खत्म होगा, वो देख रहे बीड्स कितना खत्म होगा. तो एक्चुअली इन 16 राउंड्स व्हाट वी एक्चुअली डू मे बी द मिडिल 3 or 4 राउंड्स. तो वो 3-4 माला में भी थोड़ा 1-2 माला भी, इफ यू आर एक्चुअली एब्जॉर्ब्ड during that much amount of time, our consciousness has touched the level of Shuddha Sattva. ऊपर माला पहुंच गया हो, it has reached the topmost level. And then during the rest of the day, once the consciousness has reached that level, even if it drops, it can't drop till Tamogun. It can drop at the most till maybe Sattvagun, maybe even till Rajogun it can drop, but it won't drop till Tamogun. That is why you might be having this experience. If you are actually absorbed in sadhana in the morning, rest of the day goes very smooth. How the rest of the day goes smooth, and how during the rest of the day you are more or less positive? Because you have created so much of positive charging early in the morning by coming to the level of Shuddha Sattva, that the rest of the day you never touch the level of Tamogun at all. Because negativity comes when you touch Tamogun. If you don't touch Tamogun at all, where is the question of negativity? So this is the best process of experiencing positivity all through your life. Do your sadhana very nicely early in the morning. Complete absorption. Devotees also feel negativity. Why? Because they are not absorbed in their sadhana. If devotees are absorbed in sadhana, there is no question of experiencing negativity, because you are touching the Shuddha Sattva level. And once you touch the Shuddha Sattva level, consciousness गिरेगा भी तो भी कितना गिरेगा? रजोगुण तक गिरेगा, उससे नीचे नहीं गिर सकता है. So that is why as Bhakti Yogis we have this added advantage as compared to any other yoga system of coming to the level of Sattva Guna more easily. And the nice thing is, if you continue doing this over a period of time, if you continue coming to the level of Shuddha Sattva over and over and over again, then your average day will be more or less in Sattva Guna, max to max Rajoguna. And then what happens is, automatically you will feel averse to things which are tamasic. You understand? So in the bottom top approach, you had to use your willpower to climb above Tamogun and Rajogun. But in this top bottom approach, automatically you will start feeling averse to things which are tamasic. See, once Prabhupada, he went to an ISKCON center. And he went to the washroom there. Or washroom Prabhupada came out of the washroom and he called all the devotees there. Immediately सबका इष्टोगोष्ठी assembly सबको बुलाया और बोले, you people are not chanting 16 rounds. I know this because the toilets are so dirty. Washroom is so dirty, it is so smelling. If you are chanting Hare Krishna properly, you won't be able to tolerate this. That you are comfortable with such dirty toilets means what? You are also in Tamogun. And if you are also in Tamogun, that means what? आप chanting नहीं करे. Because if you are chanting Hare Krishna, your consciousness has to get raised. And once your consciousness raises, then tamasic things, you will be repelled by them. You don't have to work towards moving away from Tamogun and Rajogun. Naturally, you will feel averse to Tamogun and Rajogun. So the simple method of raising our consciousness to Sattva Guna is being attentive in our sadhana. So Bhakti Yoga is the most powerful yoga system, that is why. And we need to practice it very nicely. So then, there is this nice story of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He used to take his disciples on yatras. And once he had taken his disciples on a yatra to Burma. And wherever he took yatra, suppose they stayed in one particular place, they used to erect a tent there, and they used to have a makeshift kitchen, and they used to be there for a while before moving to another place. That's how they used to do the yatra. So in one particular place in Burma, when they were having this kitchen and all these things were going on, at that time, all the neighboring villages, a lot of people from the neighboring villages, they came and they started complaining. इतना गंदा बास कहाँ से आ रहा है? इतना गंदा बास कहाँ से आ रहा है? So the devotees of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they were cooking hot puris in pure ghee. वो प्योर घी का स्मेल ये लोगों को गंदा बास लग रहा था. बोल रहे इतना गंदा बास बंद करो, बंद करो. क्या कर रहे हो तुम लोग? Because what was their guna? They were in tamogun, hardcore tamogun. And their delicacy was what? In their village, in the middle of the village, they used to keep a pot. And whenever the villagers used to come across some insect that was dead, they used to bring it and drop it in that pot. तो at the end of the year, वो जो भी fluid बनता था वो pot के अंदर, उसका वो dish बना के सब feast करते थे. So naturally, because they are in hardcore tamoguna, for them, sattuguni ghee smell is repulsive. And it's vice versa also. So to the extent our consciousness gets raised, sights, sounds, smells, everything that is tamasic will be repelled by it automatically. And see, this is why spirituality is pratyaksha bhagavam dharmyam. As we advance on the spiritual path, we experience ourselves, how we are transforming. Isn't it? See, I think Chandramoli Swami, he was giving an example. He was telling that if you feel that chanting of Hare Krishna is not working on you, then try not chanting Hare Krishna for a day or two. And you see the difference. See, it's like, when you are chanting Hare Krishna on a regular basis properly, unbeknownst to us, the consciousness has raised to a particular level. And when we don't chant, suddenly the consciousness drops and that becomes unbearable to us because we are used to a certain level of consciousness. Like somebody who is regularly used to traveling by flight, suppose they are told to travel by train, they will be very inconvenienced because they are used to a particular standard of living. So similarly, when we are chanting Hare Krishna, unbeknownst to us, our consciousness is actually getting upgraded. And so it becomes unbearable to live without that level of consciousness because we are so much addicted now to the level of Shuddha Sattva and also the Sattva Guna all through the day. And in the absence of that, when we see our consciousness slipping to Rajogun and Tamogun, that becomes very unbearable. You are shaken by that experience. So, and then Krishna, he goes further here. Sa nischayena yoktavyo yogo nirvinna chetasa sankalpa prabhavan kamam styaktva sarvan asheshata manasaivendriya gramam viniyamya samantata. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon without exception all material desires, born of mental speculation, and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. So Prabhupada, in the purport, he gives a very nice story that how one should be determined. As for determination, one should follow the example of a sparrow who lost her eggs in the waves of the ocean. A sparrow laid her eggs on the shore of the ocean, but the big ocean carried away the eggs on its waves. The sparrow became very upset and asked the ocean to return her eggs. The ocean did not even consider her appeal. So the sparrow decided to dry up the ocean She began to pick out the water in her small beak, and everyone laughed at her for her impossible determination. The news of her activity spread, and at last Garuda, the gigantic bird carrier of Lord Vishnu, heard it. He became compassionate towards his small sister bird, and so he came to see the sparrow. Garuda was very pleased by the determination of the small sparrow, and he promised to help. Thus Garuda at once asked the ocean to return her eggs, lest he himself take up the work of the sparrow. The ocean was frightened at this and returned the eggs. Thus the sparrow became happy by the grace of Garuda. So basically, Prabhupada is telling here, God helps those who help themselves. So we should show our determination, our sincerity to make spiritual progress. And if we try our best, then Krishna will help us make spiritual progress also. Alright, any questions anybody has?
Prabhuji, an unrelated question. A lot of people who are addicted to alcohol and all, they have those centers where they get treated or they redact that habit. But that's not Shuddha Sattva Guna, right? They're just trying to bring them closer in some way to Sattva Guna, right? So it's not probably the most correct way to give up that habit. If they rise to the level of Shuddha Sattva, wherein they stop it and probably engage into, is that the correct way, or they slowly give it up?
Actually, as far as I understand, even Alcoholics Anonymous, it's based on the principles of taking shelter of God only. But of course, if once, so it works. The success of Alcoholic Anonymous is based on the principle of taking shelter of God only. That's how they are successful. But the facility that we have to take shelter of God is more direct, because through the scriptures we know which mantra to chant, which form of God to take shelter of, which scriptures to take shelter of. So, yeah, but see, as long as the person is sincere, Krishna helps them. Actually, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, in some of his writings, he has written quite a few books. So he mentions how certain Christian saints, in their private writings, and these private writings was revealed only after they passed away from this world. So in their private writings, it was revealed that they had a connection with God at the level of, at a conjugal level. And in Christianity, there is no concept of having a conjugal relationship with God. There is no question of Madhurya Ras. So at the, being scared of being called heretical, they didn't reveal those things while they were alive. But later on, it was discovered that they had those revelations. How could they have those revelations even though they are just reading the Bible? Because they were very sincere, and because they are very sincere, God revealed to them. We might have access through the Vedas, but if we are not sincere, we may not have that level of realization. So ultimately, bottom line is sincerity. So it would be wrong to say that, Alcoholic Anonymous is insufficient. Because if a person sincerely follows and takes shelter of God, God will help them. Why not? Isn't it? Anything else?
The Mayavadis, they are in which mode? Are they in the mode of bhakti? And the Karam Kandis are in the mode of ignorance. And the Karm Yogis are they in mode of goodness? Just want to know.
Okay. See, Mayavadis, Prabhupada says in quite a few purports that Mayavad life, the Mayavadis, actual Mayavadis, not New Age Mayavadis, but traditional Mayavadis, followers of Shankaracharya, they got a very sattvic lifestyle. But Aruya Krichrena Param Padam Tataha Patantyadho Anadrita Vishmadangraya, because they don't have support at the lotus feet of Krishna, because they don't take shelter of Sri Krishna. They find it very difficult to maintain that Sattva-guna. Because lifestyle of Mayavad, Jnana, it's a Jnana Marga that they follow. So the Jnana Marga that they follow, the lifestyle is Sattvic. But to maintain that Sattva-guna is purely based on your own personal prowess. So the nature of this world is to pull you down to Rajoguna and Tamoguna. Sattva-guna left on its own will degrade into Rajoguna. Rajoguna left on its own will degrade to Tamoguna. And because they don't have support in Sri Krishna, they don't have support at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, they find it more difficult to maintain their Sattva-guna. And then they get engaged in worldly activities, Prabhupada says in his purports. Karma Kandis generally they are more in Rajoguna, because Karma Kanda is based on fulfillment of material desires. But if they follow the principles of Karma Kanda properly, then the Vedic injunctions are given in such a way that they will slowly rise to Sattva-guna, even they. And the entire process of Karma Yoga is to bring you up to the level of Sattva-guna, and then to be able to bring you to the level of liberation, freedom from even Sattva-guna. So, Karma Kandis, I would say, Rajoguna. Karma Yogis are making a transition from Rajoguna to Sattva-guna. Mayavadis, supposedly Jnanis, they're supposed to be in Sattva-guna, but they will find it very difficult to maintain Sattva-guna. Why? Because they don't take shelter of Krishna.
Mayavadi says that they can be both. I am the both.
Yeah. So when they think that they themselves are God, then how can they take shelter of God?
How they are in Sattva?
Lifestyle is sattvic. See, yeah, from a certain perspective, yes, they are in ignorance, gross ignorance, considering themselves to be God. So, see, this is the whole problem with the material world. In the material world, nothing is pure. Even Sattva-guna is always mixed with Rajoguna and Tamoguna. And that mixture of Tamoguna is more predominant in Mayavadis, you can see. But nonetheless, no denying that they got a lifestyle of Sattva-guna nonetheless. That is there. Okay. Anything else?
Prabhuji, there is something called as, positivity, as you said, very beautiful lecture you gave. It was so nice that we need Sattva-guna to actually sustain in success, because not always that you're going to have success. But then as you're always chanting, many times you can be toxic positive also. I mean, you can always be like always positive, and sometimes the emotional part of even sometimes being having that feeling of for some other person to feel his pain, to feel that. I mean, of course, that comes with positivity, but sometimes you can always be on a high and sometimes neglect the woes and pains of some people. Maybe. I mean, I'm just saying, if that happens all the time, you're positive.
No, it doesn't happen that way, because Sattva-guna is more awareness. One of the characteristics of Sattva-guna is more awareness, more knowledge. And once your awareness increases, how can we be apathetic towards the misery and sufferings of others? Empathy is a natural byproduct of Sattva-guna only. If that is actually happening, that we are not able to understand others' problems, miseries and suffering, that is because of tinges of Rajoguna and Tamoguna that we might be still having with us. We need to perform our spiritual activities properly. See, of course, when we are performing our spiritual activities, we rise to the level of Shuddha Sattva provided we are not committing any offenses. So we need to perform spiritual activities according to the direction of the scriptures and according to the direction of the saints. If we simply do it without proper guidance, then we might imagine that we are at the level of Shuddha Sattva, but actually we may not be rising at all. Because an integral part of rising to the level of Shuddha Sattva is to avoid offenses. And avoiding offenses, a part of it is not being insensitive to the needs of others, not to hurt others, and things like that. Okay?
Thank you, Raji.
There can't be anything as toxic positivity. I think that's
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, we are told that lowest level of pleasure is pleasure of senses, then comes emotional pleasure, then intellectual pleasure, and highest is spiritual pleasure. My question is, how do we get to that level of spiritual pleasure? How do you get that level?
Yeah. When we are absorbed in Sri Krishna, we experience spiritual pleasure.
Now, sir, if we get to that level of spiritual pleasure, then that chanting etc. would be perpetual, because once I reach that pleasure which does not diminish, then I should be constantly chanting like Namacharya Haridas Thakurji.
Yeah. See, we are experiencing spiritual pleasure. No denying that. Because if we are not experiencing spiritual pleasure, we wouldn't be able to continue. A person comes once, person comes second time means he has experienced some pleasure first time. Otherwise he wouldn't have come second time. So spiritual pleasure a person is experiencing from day one. Otherwise there is no question of continuing. But obviously the complete spiritual pleasure we'll experience when we are completely purified. As long as contaminations are still in the heart, we can't experience complete spiritual pleasure, but we are experiencing to some extent, 100%. And once we experience it completely, that's, as you rightly pointed out, we will be doing it perpetually. Alright, anything else, or we'll have Kirtan then? Any other questions? Alright.
So, Prabhuji, should we always keep Sattva-Guna as a backup plan? Because as we are having troubles, as you said very rightly, so many people think that, spirituality is just like it's like a sometime or the other kind of a thing. So, should it be that it is a constant support? Because whenever you go down in any kind of problem in your life, rather than going to Tamoguna where you will be addicted to certain wrongdoings, it's always better to come back to say, Krishna, you are the controller. Like coming to Krishna consciousness, coming to chanting, coming to satsang, coming to Prabhupada books, scriptures. So it's like one big thing that you should always constantly do, so that even if some upheavals happen in life, you're always back to the normal part of spiritual alignment.
Absolutely. In the army there is a saying, no? Those who sweat during peace don't have to bleed during war. So when things are alright, at that time, if you are taking spiritual life seriously and doing it on a regular basis, then when things go down, you are well equipped to handle it. See, it happens all the time. That's the nature of this world, right? So, there's a yoga teacher who comes to our temple. So he keeps telling us, all of you people should be doing yoga regularly. If you do yoga regularly, then there won't be any health problems. You won't have back problems. You won't have any blockages in arteries, because you are doing yoga on a regular basis, you are doing pranayama on a regular basis. And we hear it and we shake our head. But once there is blockage in the artery, then you can't go to the yoga teacher that now I will do pranayama. Let the blockage go away. If you had started early, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years ago, then the blockage wouldn't have arisen in the first place. You get my point here. So similarly, in the modern day world, the world that we are living in is so uncertain that mental diseases are a norm, more and more and more and more. So the minimum that you will get by spirituality is freedom from mental diseases. But then once you are on medication, then if you say, now I will chant Hare Krishna, it will work, but it may not be so effective. Maybe you'll have to take the medication and then continue chanting Hare Krishna. But if you proactively do, we are developing our internal backup thing to deal with the negativities of this world. See, the world that we are living in is very stressful. See, pasteurization of milk. Pasteurization of milk is, the milk is boiled, then cooled, it is boiled, it is cooled, and through that all bacteria die. In the modern day world, within no time you can be hugely successful. अभी एक वीडियो डाला अपने अनुज प्रभु ने, वायरल हो जाएगा, और अनुज प्रभु बिल्कुल अभी सेलिब्रिटी, सब उनको आरती उतार रहे, एंड देन ही स्पीक्स कैजुअली इन अ पॉडकास्ट और एक मिस्टेक बोल दिया और पब्लिक एकदम लेके चप्पल लेके पिटाई कर रहे थे. See, the fluctuations in the modern world is too extreme. See, in the olden times, somebody who is a roadpati, maybe he would find some home on the side of the road at the end of life. उसका करोड़पति बनने का चांस बहुत कम था. पर आजकल रोडपति करोड़पति बन सकता है, करोड़पति रोडपति बन सकता है, 3-4 बार हो सकता है. See, it's too much for the human mind to consume. वो बैक्टीरिया की तरह हमारा ब्रेन भी फ्राई आउट हो रहा है यहाँ पे, because our brain is getting pasteurized through extremes. And what is the definition of yoga? Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tektva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samabhutva samatvam yogam uchyate. Definition of yoga is equanimity. So to practice of yoga, spirituality, you train yourselves in equanimity, which is the antidote for fluctuations. So by coming to programs, as I said, Bhakti Yoga is the most powerful yoga. By taking to it, the minimum that you will get is mental sanity in an ever fluctuating today's world. It's a very dangerous world that we are living, very dangerous, very toxic. And that is why, is that okay? Okay. So, anything else? Okay. We will have Kirtan now? We'll do it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Somebody will play mridang?
Adu.
Please mridanga. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद.
Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Praladaladaine.
Praladaladaini.
Hiranyakashipurvakshaha.
Hiranyakashipurvaksha.
Shilatankanakalaye.
Shilatankanakalaye.
Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimha.
Ito Narasimha Parato Narasimha.
Yato yato yami tato Narsimha.
Yato yato yami tato Narasimha.
Bahir Narsimha Hridaye Narsimha.
Maya Narasimha Hridaye Narasimha.
Narasimhadim Sharanam Prapade.
Vaim Sharanam Sharanam Prapade.
Tava kara kamala bhare nakam adbhuta shringam dalita hiranyakashipu dano bringam keshavadrita narahari rupa jai jagadisha Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare
Adbhuta
Jaya Narasimhadev 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 Jaya Narasimhadev Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Mahaprasade Govinde
Namaste Govinde
Nama Brahmani Vaishnave
Nama Brahmani Vaishnave
Punyavam Rajan
Sarpradam Pradam Rajan
Vishwasuneva Jayate
Vishwasane Vijayate
Sharira Vidyajal
Sharira Vidyajat
Jadindriyata Hekar
Jilendya Tahekar
Je Fele Vishay Sagare
Ye Fere Vishesagare
Tar Madhya Jivati
Dharmati Jivati
Lomaya Sudurmati
Gurmata Sudurmati
Takije Takadina Samsari
Dakadita Kadim Sansare
Krishna Badadayamai
Krishna Paradayame
Kori Bar Jivajai
Goriba Jivajay
Swaprasadna Dilobhai
Soprasad Anidobai
Senna Mrtapao
Sriyanna Mritpao
Radha Krishna Gunagao
Radha Krishna Gungao
Premida Ko Shri Chaitanya Nita
Prema Rako Shri Nityananda
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Mahaprasad ki
Hare Krishna, we thank His Grace Gopinath Chandra Prabhu to come all the way from Chopati to us, and he's been an inspiration every time we meet him. So today it was a transcending journey from Tamogun to Rajo to Sattvagun. So as very beautifully explained that we eternally need to be in Shuddha Sattva. So it has to be a upward bottom approach. And so we all pray that we are able to follow his instructions, and we from the bottom of our heart want to thank him to come all the way by loudly chanting 3 times.
Hari
Hari
Bol,
Bol.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. We just want to have some people who have come for the first time in our program. So we have Archana and Sheila who have come for the first time. Can we have Archana and Sheila, Maji? That's you. Okay, so can we have a loud Hari Bol for them?
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Suraj ji, Poonam and Nagmani ji. Acha, So we pray at the lotus feet of Gopinath ji that you keep coming and inspiring us all the Fridays, every Friday, 7:15. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.